Hello, Paulo Leite here, record collector, and this is part 2 of Fantasyland Records in Atlanta, Georgia. On part 1, we explored the main room that carries their collection of rock, pop and soul on vinyl, CDs and cassettes. On this video, we are going to explore the green room and the red room. To get there, you go through this door, which leads to the movie corridor. Now, before you enter, you should not bring in records from the main room, because there is a big chance you'll forget or lose them there, and if that happens, no one will find them. So please be nice and leave them at the front counter. Now, this is the movie corridor with thousands of movies on DVD and Blu-ray. I call the red room because of the color of the walls, and the same thing with the green room. Let's start with the red room. It's big and it's filled with records. Jazz, classical music and a lot more. Oh, and some fascinating surprises. I confess, it's difficult to pick a place to start, so let's start with vinyl female vocalists. Here's a gorgeous album by Petula Clark, Just Pet from 1969, with some gorgeous songs. Some people collect these white label promos. I like them if I already have the full cover. Now, there is one thing that I find beautiful on those old vinyl records: the type design. This Lena Horne from 1963 is a great example. This cursive typeface is gorgeous, and we simply don't find them anymore on today's albums. Back then, they even had the song titles on the cover. Today, designers seem to be afraid of text. Look at this Dionne Warwick from 1977. It's a great album, don't get me wrong, but you can barely see the title. I know, the artist got more important as the covers evolved, but something was lost. Oh, that's Timmy Euro's classic Hurt from 1961. I love Brooke Benton, and this album uses Bodoni typeface so elegantly. Another thing I miss about old records is those phrases, full dimensional stereo. And look at that beautiful typeface. Now look at this Johnny Mathis, isn't it beautiful? This looks pretty close to our Hermione typeface. It's gorgeous. And here's a great Lou Rawls album from 1967. Fantasyland has a great easy listening section. Most of the big names are here. Then some international music. I always feel intrigued by historical and political albums. I'm sure there is some quality stuff here. Oh, and I found here some sound effects libraries on vinyl. Fantasyland has a great collection of comedy albums. There was a time, way before Netflix specials, when people would sit around a record player laughing their asses off with these albums. Here's the great Richard Pryor in 1975. The Red Room also contains vinyl soundtracks. And also children's albums, Disney, The Muppets, and lots more. Oh, they also have these old SelectaVision discs. This was a video format developed by RCA that uses records that are similar to vinyl called capacitance electronic discs. These discs come inside these caddies that go into the player. The player takes the disc out and plays them with a stylus, while we keep the empty caddy. As a format, this was a colossal failure because it was released around 1981, a few years after the much better Laserdisc. This was, in fact, the failure that broke RCA. Fantasyland has a great collection of classical music on vinyl. I love these living stereo editions. I have several of them. They sound great and are beautiful to look at. Here's a section of audiophile classical music. These DBX albums are amazing. They sound great if you have the DBX decoder. It's such a sad thing that this format never really took off. I also found here some Quadraphonic albums. These were introduced around 1970-71, and there are some variations inside the format, and some of them sound better than others. But generally, they did bring us the glory of multi-channel. However, the equipment needed is kinda hard to find today. But it's great to find the records here. Here's a section dedicated to Leonard Bernstein. Several albums here that are priceless. And walking around, I found this. Gene Martin's God's Got a Blessing for You. I think from 1966. This is one of the most beautiful choir albums I know. Get this album, you'll thank me later. And now we're moving to jazz. Yes, this collection is amazing. 2 albums by Kenny Burrell I absolutely love. This one from 1974 and Blue Bash with Jimmy Smith from 1963. Get this album, you'll thank me later. Street Life from 1979 has the long version of Randy Crawford singing Street Life. Give your Jackie Brown soundtrack to charity and get this album instead. The second track, My Lady, has the most beautiful voice ensemble. And don't skip the amazing Deodato, both of these from 1974. This is quite a collection. Beautiful Quincy. Some old downbeat magazines. There is also these old jazz box sets. Of course, there is a country music section. Now let's transition to CDs. Their classical collection is quite big, and you don't have to go very far to find some gold. Here's Leopold Stokowski conducting Carl Orff's Carmina Burana. Here's Mia Farrow's Husband. Everything here is beautifully organized. And there's even more CDs under the CDs. It's a big collection. And more classical CDs. Oh, and look what I found here. Vladimir Ashkenazy playing Schubert. Beautiful record. And just like with the vinyl, there is a section for vocalists and easy listening. Some techno and trance. Some PlayStation games and audiobooks. Not too many audiobooks, but some interesting titles. Lots of jazz box sets and the blues section. It's incredible the number of records here. It's unbelievable. Wedding music? All right. And finally, some Laserdiscs. I was crazy about these back in the 90s. Back then, they offered the best quality. And they have movies too. I used to drool over these. By the way, many of those are still factory sealed. How about that? Now that we explored the red room, let's go into the green room. The green room is completely different. Here we have discounted vinyl at $5 each. Although they are cheap, there are good records here. Like this Moody Blues from 1981. Paul Kantner and Jefferson Starship from 1970. This classic OJs from 1977. There are some CD book collections here and compilations organized by decade. You can find here great stuff from the 50s, since many of those artists, when it comes to CD, only exist in compilations. And some of those are already out of print. And 45s. Tons of 45s. Also organized by decade and alphabetical order. I can spot dozens of artists I love. I never bought 45s. It's funny that in Brazil, where I grew up, all the singles I remember were 33 RPM. Plus, I always wanted the full album unless the single had an instrumental on the B-side. Somehow, the singles only had radio edits and shorter versions of the beautiful songs that I wanted. However, today, some of these are highly collectible. There are some music titles on VHS. There is also a nice collection of 8 tracks. Punk and hardcore, and some ska. Some sports albums, exercises, and dance lessons. And I don't know why people say Kim Novak was decapitated here, but sure, that's an uncomfortable position. Radio shows, techno, 12-inch singles, and discounted CDs. All that you see here are discounted CDs, all the way to the other side of the room over there. Prices vary from $1 to $5, but most are priced at $3. When visiting a large record shop like this one, I always tell people looking for CDs to check the discount section because sometimes that's how they get rid of excessive inventory. A shop may have 5 identical titles. 2 will be up front for, say, $7, and the others will be on the discount bin for $2 each. People get intimidated by the number of irrelevant CDs, but that's a mistake. On the record shops with big collections like this, there's always good stuff that ends up on the discounted section. Patience is the virtue of the record collector, my friends. Now I remember these suitcases for storing cassettes. Here's a nice box for vinyl. And here's a case for your 45s. A Disc Go case, straight from the 60s. Can you imagine the joy someone had 60 years ago carrying this case full of 45s to a party? Or you can keep them here with the sleeves. Or keep them in these albums. So many of these solutions today look so dated, and at the same time, highly nostalgic. I have to say a word about the people running this shop. They really love records and music. And you have to, if you work on a place like this. The amount of time, attention, and care needed to keep a shop like this so organized is considerable. I loved spending time here. This is a great place to be. Fantasyland Records is one of my favorite record shops in the world. There may be bigger shops, but this one is a labor of love. And you should be here with me. Please like the video and subscribe. More great content coming soon. Thank you.